Hey everybody, I've been kind of quiet lately. I've been heads down last week and this week on the next version of React Router. And so I've been kind of, haven't been tweeting that much or very active on social media. But I thought it'd be fun to make a little video and just kind of show you some of the stuff that I've been working on. So React Router v6 is just around the corner, and some of the focuses there are we're working on making it fully ready for suspense, taking advantage of a lot of the async capabilities, the cool async capabilities coming in React Suspense. And then we're also combining the best of the Reach Router API with the React Router API, and we think you're really going to like it. But I'll make a separate video about what we have planned for React Router. This video I just wanted to make about this new blocking feature that we have in the history library. So the history library is the main dependency of React Router. You can kind of think of it as like the engine. This is the way that we interface with the browser history API, whether it's HTML5, history push state, replace state, or hash history, or we even have an in-memory version that you can use with React Native or things like headless testing environments like Node, or it can even be useful in like Electron apps, stuff like that. So anyway, this history library, we've had this blocking feature. I said it was new. It's not actually new. But it is now more powerful than it has been before. And I wanted to just kind of show you how and what I mean by that. So this idea of blocking navigation basically means that, this can be useful for when, somebody is filling out a form, and, maybe they've, got some data that they've entered on the page, and you don't want them to be able to navigate away before you at least prompt them and say, hey, you know, do you actually want to leave, or because you're going to lose the data that you've already entered in the form. So we can kind of navigate around here. So I've got a couple of different navigation methods. We've got, of course, the back and the forward buttons. These do the exact same thing as the back and the forward buttons do here. We've got some push state and replace state links that are just doing push state and replace state under the hood, which is actually an in-page style of navigation using the HTML5 history API. And then we've just got a couple of regular links, which just push onto the history stack. And the thing about these regular links is they cause a full page reload, whereas these push state and replace state do not. So we can go and push a couple of links onto the stack, and you'll see that every time I click one of these, we get a new item on the stack here. And then if I click this block, or I can go back and I can go forward. If I click the block checkbox, you'll notice that I can no longer go forward. It'll give me a prompt. And it'll actually say, are you sure you want to go to /2? And I'm still at /1. I can say cancel if I wanted to stay there, or I can say okay if I want to go. In that case, we just clear the checkbox and we actually go to the new URL. Okay, so we can block again. These back and forward buttons do the exact same thing as the browser's Chrome, so I can hit back. Are you sure you want to go to 1? We can say cancel, or we can say, yeah, okay, let's do it. Same thing works for out of page navigation. So I said like these regular links will actually cause a full page refresh. So that was just a window confirm dialog. But you notice if we're trying to block an out of page navigation, then we'll actually get this separate piece of UI, and this is the browser's built-in UI for saying, hey, and you've seen this before, right? It says, hey, changes you made may not be saved, right? And so you can say, okay, cancel the navigation attempt, in which case you stay there, or if you say leave, then you'll actually go and you'll do a full page refresh. So we're actually at a new page now. So that's two different kinds of navigations, right? One is within the same document, and there you get a chance to show some UI. We are just using a window confirm dialog, but then when you're going out of the page and you're actually loading a brand new document, we've got the ability to do that too through this new history block API, which is previously we weren't doing that for you. We were only doing in-page navigation. So this is pretty cool. And you might be like, okay, so like, what is like the notable kind of thing here? So one thing that we weren't doing before, or we were doing it before, but it didn't really work that well. And I want to just kind of take you behind the scenes and kind of show you how this is working. So let's say you push a couple of different locations onto the stack. We've got 1 and 2, right? So I can go bare URL, I can go 1, I can do 2. So if you go and you click the back button, you'll notice that a couple of things are in the stack now. Actually, let's get a brand new page here so you can see it better. I was reading about Closure compiler earlier. All right. So we've got a brand new stack. If you click and hold on the back button, you'll notice there's just the new tab page is in there. So let's put 1 and let's put 2 in there. And now if you click and you hold the back button, you can see the stuff that's in the stack, right? You can see that you've got a few things in the stack. And then we can push 1 and 2 on there again. So now we've got a couple more things in the stack here. Okay. So one thing that is interesting that you can do is, you can actually go and navigate like multiple entries back in the stack, right? And it's actually really, really tricky to get this right. Most history implementations that I've seen, if you try and block a navigation that is going back for like, if we wanted to go back to this page right here so that there's only 1 entry in the stack before this one. So if I go there, you'll notice that we can block that navigation and we can say, are you sure you want to go to 1? And if we cancel that, you'll notice that we are still at the exact same spot in the stack, right? We still have these 3 entries or these 4 entries previous to the current page that we're at. Most history implementations that I've seen actually won't keep you at the same place in the stack. In order to keep you where you are, they'll actually do a push. So they'll push a new entry onto the stack, which is this current page that you're at. Why do they do that? Well, they do it because it's actually kind of tricky. It's actually really, really tricky to stay where you are. See, when you get a pop, because that navigation across several indexes in the history, that's called a pop. And so you get a pop state. And when you're on a given page, you don't actually know where you are in the history stack. It's a security measure that browsers implement. They don't want you to know the URL before or the URL after the page that you currently visited. It's just not available to JavaScript. All you know is window.history.length, so you know the total size of this stack here, but you don't know the page before and the page after. So when you get to a page like this, so when I go and I navigate back here, we actually had to navigate all the way back to the page where we were coming from. So we navigated back 3 entries, and we had to go forward again 3 entries to restore that URL so that we could display this prompt. And now if we press, as you saw last time we pressed cancel, we were still at the same spot. Now if we press OK, you'll notice we went back there, but where did we go? We actually preserved the correct position in the history stack. Now this is, again, this is really tricky. I've actually spent a lot of time thinking about this, probably way too much time thinking about this. But again, you'll notice if we go all the way forward again, you'll notice that we've got all these entries again. I can do the exact same thing. Let's say this time we're just going to go back to this last instance of 2, and we'll say OK, and you'll see again, we're at the right place in the history stack, and we still have forward and back works exactly as you'd expect. So I wanted to dive in and show you, kind of like peel back the covers a little bit and show you like exactly how does that work. Oh, well, first of all, I wanted to show you kind of the API for actually making this work in your page. So the history API is, you create a browser history object. None of that is actually new. I'm just using this checkbox here to call this history.block method. Okay. So the block method, in V4, or our current major version, The block method was used slightly differently than it is used in this version. So in this version, you give us a callback here, and we're using this onBlock function here as our callback. And when a navigation is blocked, that function is going to get a single argument called, I always just call it TX, short for transition. Okay. And so the transition actually has, the location that the user tried to go to, and it also has this method called retry on it. Okay, so in this case, we're just showing the confirm dialog, and we're saying, if they confirm that they actually do want to go to that URL, we're going to reset our checkbox so that it's not preventing the transition anymore. Call unblock, obviously, so that we're not blocking the navigation anymore, and then we can go ahead and retry that transition, and it's going to try and do the exact same transition that we had before. So again, and this API will work, whether it's just a simple back forward, or whether it is a pop, across multiple locations. It will also work for regular push and replace, right? So if I'm blocking a regular push, it'll work for that too. So there are pushes and replaces which are simple. The pop is a little more complex. And so anyway, the way that we're doing that is internally, we're storing an index for each location in this stack. And when you pop to a certain location, then we know, okay, Michael just navigated back 3 entries in the stack. And so this transition retry function will actually knows that index internally, and it will say, okay, if he actually wants to retry that transition, that exact same transition, we're going to go back 3 entries in the stack, right? It's not a simple back button or a forward button press, but we know that, the actual index difference in the 2 locations that you were trying to visit. So anyway, that's a little bit about how it works. Obviously, the source code is up on GitHub if you wanted to really dig into the nitty gritty and see how it actually works behind the scenes. But this is the API that we are going to ship in history version 6, and I'm actually hoping to ship a beta this week. So thanks for taking the time to watch. Hopefully, this was kind of cool to be able to see, some of the kind of behind the scenes stuff about how the router is made. And hopefully you'll be able to make a couple more of these videos and show you some more cool stuff that I've been working on this week. Bye.